computer. Hey everybody, welcome to the CFC, Community Foundation Collaboration, where we are learning about community foundations and having all kinds of fun experts come in. Today's expert is Auction John. And John has got all kinds of credentials that I'm sure he'll mention to you. I couldn't tell you exactly what they are, but I do know he's in the top 1% of auctioneers in this country in many ways. And I have learned a lot. Having been in real estate 20 years, I had no idea how much of a collaboration realtors and auctioneers can have. They're not competition, they're our collaboration buddies. So John, I'm going to mute myself, get out my pad and pen and take notes. And remember, this video is going to be seen by thousands of people over the next few years. Take it away, John.
You promised millions.
Well,
thank you very much, Tammy. I appreciate the introduction, Cami. Thank you very much. And I am excited to, first of all, be a part of the Real Agents of Change. And Cami nailed it. As a realtor and as an auctioneer, we are not competitors. We can collaborate in a win-win-win situation. Win for the auctioneer, a win for the realtor, and a win for the home seller. And that's where we want to be, or the donor who's going to gift real estate to nonprofits and utilize the benefits of the Real Agents of Change system that we have. What I'd like to do today is introduce you to the auction platform, what auctions are and how they can be used in a multitude of ways to increase your place in a community so that people see you and know that you're a person with many options for their problems. You can become the go-to solver of those problems. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Click on that guy and say share, and then we're going to start the show from the beginning. Here we go. How do I move this out of the way? There we go. Got that out of the way. Well, auctions, as you all are aware, is a way for people to openly and transparently transfer ownership of goods and sometimes services, but mainly goods. And when I say goods, it can be any kind of an asset up to and including real estate, which is where we like to focus because real estate traditionally has more zeros after the starting number than, say, a box of Cracker Jacks. And so we're going to talk today about one of these buttons are supposed to work. There we go. We're going to be talking about auctions. And for those who are not really truly aware, auctions have been around since the time of Christ. In the Bible, they talk about throwing lots, how the soldiers threw lots in order to take possession of the garments that Christ was wearing. And that actually was a form of an auction. And so auctions have been around that long and longer. And it makes for a very easy way for someone to offer up assets, convert those assets to cash very quickly and very easily. We're going to talk at length about, not at length, but how there are three different types of auctions that you as a realtor or a nonprofit should be aware of. The first are nonprofit fundraiser auctions. Even if you're a realtor, your favorite fundraiser organization or your favorite nonprofit organization will at some point in time obviously have fundraisers because that's how they survive. If you as a realtor can become involved, whether as a donor or whether you have friends that can donate things to be auctioned off or sold off, or if you become a volunteer within the organization, those are ways that you can embed yourself and become the go-to expert when it's time for someone to donate real estate. In these nonprofit auctions, if you are involved in a nonprofit auction, a fundraising auction, I urge you to reach out to the leaders of that nonprofit or the person in charge of the fundraiser auction and convey to them the importance of having a true licensed professional benefit auctioneer specialist or benefit auction specialist. The National Auctioneer Association is rich in their educational programs and the way that they train and have continuing education for auctioneers. State of the art techniques and games and ways to encourage participation from donors in the audience are constantly being taught and updated and reviewed and brought to the market to enable these nonprofits to make as much money as they can. When we talk about benefit auctioneers, the auctioneer that your fundraiser or your group should contact is a benefit auctioneer specialist. This means they've gone through hours and hours, if not days, of training in order to learn all the tricks of the trade that the principal at the school will have no idea to do, or the person in charge of a group of people that's really just had silent auctions and they think, oh well, we'll bring in Uncle Bobby because I heard him, playing around in the backyard calling bids one time for fun. There's nothing that can compare to having a licensed, trained, professional benefit auctioneer specialist. So as you reach out to your nonprofit community, this is something that you can just throw out in conversation. Oh, by the way, are you guys using a benefit auction specialist? Are you using someone that can promise to get the most money from our group? Is the person you're hiring as an auctioneer really knowledgeable? Has he got background in benefit auctions? And an easy way to find these people is at auctioneers.org. That is the National Auctioneer Association, or simply Google National Auctioneer Association. Go to their website and there's a quick link to help you find an auctioneer with any specialty you want. And there's more than a dozen of them. If we move on, personal property auctions are now available to be used as donations. And Coach Trey, this is something that you could talk to your people about. Just because we're focused on real estate doesn't mean that there's other things that cannot be donated. If a donor says, hey, my mom and dad moved into a nursing home and we want to donate the house, what are you going to do with everything in the house? Oh, well, we were going to call Goodwill. We were going to donate it to Volunteers of America, whatever. Why not auction it all off and include those auction receipts as part of the donation? Make your donation bigger, have a bigger impact, and be able to provide for the nonprofit that your parents love so much. Give them everything they deserve. And so again, if you're looking for an auctioneer that can help you with these kind of things, I refer you back to the National Auctioneer Association, where there are specifically trained auctioneers in estate sales or in estate auctions and as auctioneers in general. Anything that you can think of that someone would sell, whether it's personal, and I say personal property, even commercial. If you've got a business that's going out of business and they have assets in their building, they own the real estate, they want to sell the real estate, but they have assets in the building, old machinery, outdated inventory, equipment, vehicles with 180,000 miles on them. All of those things can be auctioned off and converted into cash and become a very profitable form of donation for the donor and for the recipient nonprofit. So this is a second way to have an auction. It's not just grandma's junk in the attic. We're auctioning off a lot of high value items on a regular basis. And what some people think may not be much, it's been sitting in the closet forever. We got a room full of stuff that could turn into quite a significant amount of money for a nonprofit. So keep that in mind. And when you're working with these nonprofits, or when you're working to sell property, when you talk to people, you let them know that an auctioneer, because by nature what an auction does, lets people arm wrestle over who's going to pay the very most money, will get the highest possible price for an item and either get more money than you would have wanted, or in many cases, we know that donors want to donate because they love their nonprofit. So if we have a box and that box has a retail value of $2,500, if it goes to auction in the right setting with the right auctioneer and the right crew and the right preparation for that auction, that $2,500 box could turn into a $10,000 donation just because the donors are in love with the nonprofit and they want to do the most they can. We see it all the time when we go to fundraiser auctions where someone will donate a vacation and a week in their uh, lakeside resort home, and it has a retail value of $3,500 a week. With the right auctioneer in the right setting at the right time with the right audience, we've seen it go for $15,000 and $20,000. I was at the Cleveland Food Bank auction several years ago before COVID, and the owner of a food truck, a famous chef here in Cleveland, donated a party for 48 people where he would pull his food truck into the backyard and serve food to all 48 of your guests. That bidding at night went to $18,000. And here's where a good auctioneer will come in. As I stood on the stage next to the chef, we had two gentlemen who started bidding against each other at around $12,000. At $17,500, the next bidder went to $18,000, and the man that got outbid started shaking his head left and right. I turned and looked at the chef and I said, if I could get another bid for another $18,000, would you donate a second event? He, without hesitating, said, absolutely, John, no question. I turned around, I looked to the man who was shaking his head, who had $17,500 in his pocket ready to spend, but he got outbid. And I said, sir, I've just been allowed to offer you the same exact deal if you will bid
Testing 1, 2, 3.
$18,000. Tammy, am I still here?
You are still here, but you died about 3 minutes ago. So
Oh, it was that long ago?
you were well, you were right telling us about how the second guy paid the second
Oh,
18,000. So if you can, we're on the edge of
I
our
forgot
seat,
what I was
John.
saying.
Start.
Yeah.
Go ahead and share your screen,
Well,
friend.
let me go back to where I was, and I will finish what I'm saying. I turned to the chef and I said, if I can get that second place bidder to bid $18,000 one time, would you donate a second event? And the chef, without hesitating, said, absolutely. I turned and looked at the donor and I said, sir, you were just outbid at $18,000. For an extra $500, you can provide $18,000 worth of service and value to the Cleveland Food Bank and have a second event at your home also. Would you be willing to do that for the Cleveland Food Bank? And without hesitation, he raised his paddle high and said, absolutely. So we went from an $18,000 single event in the blink of an eye to $36,000 for the Cleveland Food Bank. And I tell that story so that you understand the value of having a licensed benefit auction specialist who knows how to work a crowd and to get the most possible money for whatever it is they're being asked to sell. We are going to get the highest price every time. And as a good example there, we're going to sell everything in one event. When you have a function, or if you have an auction, an estate auction, for whatever reason, we're going to sell everything all at once and people are going to come and pick it up. They're going to pay you to haul away your stuff. And then we're going to allow the seller to be happy to donate the proceeds, get the maximum tax write-off, and to move on with his life and not worry about it after that night. So there are so many advantages to working with a true professional auctioneer and having them help coordinate not only the planning of your auction event, but the actual auction event itself and then the follow-up afterwards. And in many cases, especially with nonprofits, the relationship with an auctioneer in terms of planning for a given event on a given day should start 9 to 10 months in advance of that event. There are so many things that need to be taken care of that people do not understand, but a professional benefit auction specialist will have that in their back pocket. So I urge you, be that go-to person as a realtor. Get involved with your nonprofits. Let them know that not only can you help them with real estate, but you can help them in other areas as well. Now we get to the meat of the matter, real estate property auctions. And I love talking about this to different realtors. For years, my auction friends have told me, don't waste your time talking to realtors. They hate auctioneers. And I found that to be true in many cases until we started to explain the benefits of working with an auctioneer. Let's use an example. A listing agent has a home that's listed for $400,000. They've already dropped the price from $480 down to $400 on 3 different occasions, and the seller's starting to get frustrated, and the listing agreement is starting to get stale. By bringing in an auctioneer and letting the auctioneer have his time to present to the seller, we can let them know that we're going to bring the highest and best offer in only 30 days. We know that in 30 to 45 days, bang, we can make this happen. The listing agent will get their full commission, their full seller side commission when we sell this property at auction. The good news is the seller doesn't have to pay that. The seller will pay a 0 commission. The auctioneer charges a buyer's premium. On a $400,000 high bid, we would sell the property for $440,000. And then the auctioneer will share that listing percentage with the listing agent so that it's a win-win-win situation for everybody. The seller pays no commission, the buyer gets the home that he wants, the auctioneer gets a sale and a commission, and the listing agent can cash their check and move on to their next listing. It's a win for everybody. If you're a listing agent, and I'm currently working with a couple who has a very specific type of house they want, and I've shown them almost 20 homes now, and several of them checked the boxes, but they were too far away, whatever. It's been at great expense for me to do this. If I were to take them to an auction though, or if I were to sell a home at an auction, I know what day we're going to be done, and I can wash my hands of it and walk away. If a listing agent comes to me with a home for sale and says, help me sell this house at auction, John, their responsibility could be finished. They don't have to worry about advertising. They don't have to worry about open houses. They don't have to worry about showing it at 7:30 at night on a snowy, rainy night. All that goes away because the auctioneer takes over and handles 100% of the marketing. If he's a good auctioneer, he will work, hello, Cammie, he'll work collaboratively with his listing agent, and together they will formulate a marketing plan so that in 30 days, everybody who needs to know about that sale will be there and participate in the auction. It could not be easier for real estate agents, and I urge you to consider real estate auctioneers your friend because they can help you. If you were to do 3 auctions a year as a listing agent, that's 3 more sales than you might have had. All 3 of those properties could have not sold and the listing agreement expired, and then you're out of luck. Everything you've invested is gone. But if you can bring an auctioneer on board who you can work with, then you can get that sale, and that's 3 more sales than you may have had in the past. It's a great way to provide additional services to your selling clients and keep them happy so they refer you to new selling clients. When you're talking to either your sellers or to nonprofits, you want to stress that, as I've said before, a certified, licensed, trained professional auctioneer is just crucial to the success of their event or of the sale of their home. And you can find out how involved they are, how in tune they are by whether or not they're involved with the National Auctioneer Association and their state auction association. Every state has a state auction association. If those auctioneers that you're interviewing can say, yes, we're an NAA member, we're an OAA member, we're a member of the North Carolina Auction Association, we were the past president of the Ohio Auctioneer Association, or we were on the board, or we were the vice president, all those things make for a better event. They truly do, because these people, not only are these people really good at what they do, they've been well trained, but the people at the top of the list in those organizations are truly connected beyond belief. And not a day goes by that I don't talk to someone about an auction and they ask me a question that I don't have an answer to, but I know who to call. I know where I can find a phone number to pick up that phone and call a friend and say, "Hey, buddy, listen, we've got a collection of 500 bottles of bourbon. Am I allowed to sell bourbon at auction?" And then he tells me where to go, who to talk to, the Department of Liquor Control. It's a simple $100 license, and I have to take possession of the bottles, but then I can auction off liquor. Well, I didn't know that until I reached out and asked him. And it's because of my involvement in the Ohio Auctioneer Association, the National Auctioneer Association, the Certified Auctioneers Institute. That's a 3-year master's degree program in auctions taught by some of the best auctioneers in the world. The Accredited Auctioneer of Real Estate certification is taught by Manson Slick, the president of the largest auction company in Canada. And we have another gentleman down in South Africa who was recently nominated to the board of directors of the National Auctioneer Association. He's the CEO of the largest real estate auction company in South Africa, where they auction 200 to 300 homes every month by auction. What you'll find is as you learn about auctions around the world, 90% of the world sells everything at auction. It's the United States that doesn't embrace auctions as the primary way to sell real estate. That's a whole nother discussion in and of itself. But up until the 20s or 30s, almost every piece of real estate in America was sold by auction. And we're moving back towards that trend as well. They're not just for the dead and the desperate. You're not just going to sell crack homes at auction for $8,000. We see people, I could take you to a website right now and show you a $19 million home that's selling at absolute auction, no minimum. And they're selling anywhere from 20 to 25 homes a month with a minimum price of $3 million. It's unbelievable. But those homes are out there. People are selling them at auction, and you can take advantage of that as well. We were there. We've seen the certifications. Here's the Accredited Auctioneer of Real Estate. I have this Accredited Auctioneer of Real Estate certification next to my name. I have the Certified Auctioneer Institute after my name after 3 years of training. And the bottom line is, it's important for your career. It will be how do you say it? It'll be a feather in your cap, if you will, to have an auctioneer in your back pocket that you can go to and say, listen, I want to list this house, but they don't want to list it until they can get rid of everything in the house. Well, I can show them as an auctioneer how to get rid of everything in the house all in one day. And then you get the listing on the house, or vice versa. You get the listing and we empty the house out. And if they have a mind to charity, then we can sell everything and donate the proceeds to charity, or donate the assets to charity, then auction them off to maximize the tax benefits of donating assets rather than cash. Who's got questions for me? Let me stop sharing my screen
I have a question.
and see who has questions.
I do. Um,
Okay, Gammy.
why do you think it is? Like when we hear of art being auctioned at Christie's, like that's a real big like prestigious thing to go to an art auction. But when you hear about real estate auction, in our minds, we think of that crack house, like you mentioned, like, some bank owned garbage property. And, I know that in the Midwest, maybe part of the country, auctions are more common. But why do you think it is that it has become a tainted thing to auction real estate? And what do you think is going to happen to help shift it into that it's just a normal, smart, easy way to do it.
I have to be careful. I am talking to realtors, and I are one. And so I've seen both sides of the fence. And as an auctioneer for 12 years now, I've spoken to a lot of realtors. And that is the number one reason people do not embrace auctions. It's the easiest thing in the world if you're sitting in a listing appointment trying to list a house, and Uncle Bob says, got a friend down the street and he's a real estate auctioneer and he's been talking to me. We don't have to pay commissions. Oh, I can hear the realtors now. Oh, you don't want to sell this at auction. People will think there's something wrong. They won't come. It could be a rainy day and nobody will show up. What are you going to do if it's a $300,000 house? What if you only get a $50,000 bid? Are you going to have to sell it for $50,000? Oh my God, I couldn't let that happen to you. I've heard it all. And I don't blame them. If I was a listing agent, I would say similar things at the dining room table, but being an auctioneer, I can offer that alternative. And as a realtor, you have the opportunity to have a relationship with a real estate auctioneer so that you can say, hey, don't go to him. He doesn't have any licenses. He doesn't have the credentials. He doesn't have the background and the history. Let me share with you who we work with, who sells 3 and 4 and 5 homes a week at auction. And let me show you the results that they're getting. Here's a good example. I have these clients that I told you I've taken them to 20 homes. We're going to more homes on Friday. I was supposed to take them today at 6 o'clock, but because of my commitment here, we pushed it off till tomorrow. But one of the homes we wanted to go see, I got an email from through showing time. And the realtor said, the home will be open through the weekend, but we've received multiple offers and the sellers want to leave the open houses in place through the weekend, and they will take the highest and best offer that they think is right on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. What if the highest and best offer is 250,000 and the list price was 239 and somebody else bid 248, but the high bid is 250? I call it a bid. The high offer is 250. Who's to say the guy that offered 248 wouldn't bid 255 or 260? You don't know that. In almost every situation where you anticipate multiple offers, and the house I'm speaking of has only been on the market for 3 days. So the right house in the right time in the right place with the right amenities is still going to demand multiple offers, even though the market is cooling. Why? You're doing a disservice to your seller by not offering an auction. Because A, he won't have to pay the commission. B, you as a real estate agent will still get your full listing side commission, guaranteed by the auctioneer. And C, a licensed professional auctioneer can offer multiple ways to auction a property, whether it's an absolute auction, a reserve auction, a sealed bid auction, a multiple round auction, a multi-parcel auction. All these are opportunities, and our fiduciary responsibility to the seller is to them and them alone. So if we're going to offer a property at auction, we're doing it because we know we're going to have multiple offers and we will get them the highest price. That house that after multiple offers got a high offer of 250 and they decided to pull the trigger on that, what happens if 2 weeks later the bank stubs their toe and says, it's going to be another 30 days before we can get that money to the seller? We're swamped or whatever. At auction, people know that it's cash at closing, 30 days or less. You lose your deposit if you fail to show up to close. And so everything about an auction is in the seller's best interest. And even in an absolute auction, people say, well, an absolute auction, that means whatever the price is, it's going to sell for it. And I'm not going to sell my house for $50,000. We know that. And here's how we handle a situation like that. By law, up until there's a public outcry for bid. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Those are the terms and conditions. I'm ready to sell this house. May I have an opening bid? That is a public outcry for bid. It is a legal term. And at that moment in an absolute auction, there will be a new owner, regardless of the high price. So how do we not scare the seller to death? We say, look, Mr. Seller, we've got 15 minutes before we're going to go live with this auction. I've got 2 people in the audience that are going to bid and 1 registered guy online. And knowing the community and knowing the neighborhood and having made some phone calls, I know the 2 guys that are in the audience know each other. And that's not a good thing for you, the seller. And the guy online, I did some background. He never did provide the documentation that we asked for. So he's not really a good bidder. So prior to me making a public outcry for bid, it is my recommendation that we cancel or postpone the auction. What would you like to do, Mr. Seller? It's your decision to make. At that moment, they can decide, let's cancel the auction. Let's review our advertising, review our marketing, figure out what we did wrong, where we can do better, and reschedule it for another day. So even though it's an absolute auction, which is the best way to sell a property at auction, you get the maximum number of people involved to bid, maximum attention, people looking at it from all over, but we still have a way to protect our sellers. And God bless real estate people. They don't understand all these different nuances of an auction. So by their nature, they poo-poo auctions because they want the signature on their listing agreement so they can get paid. And I don't hold that against anybody because as a realtor, I'm looking to get a signature as well. I just have an extra option for my sellers if I think it works in their best interest.
Well, I just have to say, as someone who was a real estate agent for 15 years, and I buttered my bread with expireds and for sell by owners, lots of them. And I had no idea how this works. But now that I do, if it was me and I was back out in the marketplace, I would have this as a unique selling proposition. I would say to the seller, look, I love your example of the $400,000 house, because that same person who's dropped from 480 to 400, when you can now say, you know what, let's auction this thing, because that 6% that you were going to give me, that 24,000 at this point, why don't you just keep that in your pocket? We'll let the buyer pay the buyer fee, and let's just get this sold for you. You become a hero and still get your 3% seller side. There's just so many ways to be creative with this. For those of you who are in the field as agents, I just want to kind of give you that little piece.
Thank you, Cammie.
Questions?
I have a couple questions. The first one, what was the website again to find out if the auctioneers are certified?
Auctioneers.org.
Oh, that's easy.
And that would be or just Google National Auctioneer Association. Either
and
one.
I'm going to give John a plug too. I put your phone number and your email in the chat.
Yay.
John knows knows auctioneers in every state. And
everywhere.
we have made John the official auctioneer of the Real Agents of Change. So we just want you to know it would be really beneficial to go through John, because he can make sure that you get your commission, because we promote that you, real estate agent, are going to get a full commission to list these legacy listings. And if an auction comes to be a better recommendation, then John understands what we're doing here. And he's going to say, listen, Charlene, your full commission of 6%, you were going to get 3% of that. Tell you what, let's auction this thing. I'll give you 3%. You don't have to list it. You don't have to market it. You don't have to show it. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Sounds like it could be more profitable than an iBuyer coming in and giving a lowball offer.
Absolutely.
I assume you have some sort of statistics on that. I mean, I would think so, that that's something that we can, because there's a lot of sellers right now who they do consider iBuyers because of the fact that they don't want people looking at their home. They don't want to have to clean it up. They don't want to have to show it. You know, I think it's a good alternative, especially if you've got some firm statistics behind why it could be more beneficial than going that route.
I don't know that anybody has statistics because people don't publish what they sold it for with iBuyer. It may show sold in the county records, but it doesn't say that Keller Williams sold it or that EXP sold it or that iBuyer sold it or Zillow sold it. They don't keep those records.
Okay.
But when you talk about the benefits of auction, the things that you just mentioned, I don't want to be displaced out of my house on showing days. I don't want to have to clean it up. I got a mess out back in the barn that I just want to burn it down, and I don't want to paint everything. I don't want to have to pay $4,000 and $5,000 to stage my house. The right
Or
house in the
fixing.
right neighborhood for the right price is going to sell whether it's staged or not.
Right.
It's just a fact. But
Right.
people think that if I spend 5,000 on staging, then I'll get higher offers. I'll tell you what, you give me $5,000 to advertise that house, I guarantee you I'm going to get the highest possible price and we'll have a crowd in your front yard bidding on that home. No questions asked.
And as far
And
as
they don't have
the
to clean
things
it up.
inside, sorry, go ahead.
I said they don't have to clean it up. They sell it as is.
Okay.
What was your question?
Oh, you had mentioned the things inside that you would get rid of those. So is that by auction as well, or is that like an estate sale?
The difference between an auction and an estate sale is really simple. And I've been to estate sales. I have a second set of wonderful fine china, a place setting for 18. I got them for $100. And it was an estate sale because it was half off Sunday. If things don't sell on Friday and Saturday, then by Sunday they cut the price in half. That doesn't sound very good for the seller.
Yeah.
But if we auction everything off in the house, it's all gone in one day. There's no Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's just gone in one day. It's the highest possible price that a group of people will pay. And many times, we see this all the time on some of these truckload sales where guys get leftover tools from Home Depot. People in the audience are paying above retail price for used returned goods. That doesn't make sense, but but the seller loves it all day long. And so if you have a listing and the seller says, well, I need to clean out my house first, I don't know, a few more minutes. The boss wants to know how much longer you're going to keep me captive, Cami.
Well, you're right. 10 minutes.
Anyway, we can auction everything off in the house and then turn around and sometimes, let's say a commercial property, just as an example, a restaurant. The new restaurant owner may want half of the equipment in the kitchen and the rest of it's old junk. Well, we can come in and auction the property first so that the new owner will have an opportunity to bid on just the items he wants. And other bidders are going to haul away the stuff he doesn't want and pay him money for it, because he buys the property with everything in it. So we end up having two auctions on the same day, one for the real estate and then one for the goods inside, and everybody walks away happy. People think they got a deal on the stuff they bought. The guy that bought the building only keeps the stuff he wants and he doesn't have to move it. So there's so many benefits to having an auction, even the auctioning the contents of a house. Yeah, we can auction the contents of a house either before or after we sell the house. It depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
Everything hinges on whether or not you've hired a knowledgeable, reputable, experienced auctioneer. That makes all the difference in the world. I talked to a guy on the phone today. His mom and dad moved out of the house and they've been hoarding things for 50 years. Those were not his words. They were collectors.
Okay.
And soon enough, he said, well, I've taken the stuff that I think is good stuff and I boxed it up and I moved it to my warehouse, but what do I do with the junk? I said, I thought you said they were collectors. Well, yeah, they collect a little bit of everything. So his particular items that he has to auction are collectible items. And I know of a website called icollector.com where people sell things of collections, whether it's porcelain or whether it's watches or whether it's fine wines or whatever it is that's collectible. That's the website they collect at. Well, if I wasn't a licensed professional auctioneer with connections in the industry, I wouldn't know that. And he's looking at other auctioneers to help him. And one of them is a friend of mine here in Cleveland. I won't mention his name, but his initials are Buddy Barton. And Buddy sells industrial equipment. He sells trucks and trailers and earth movers and all that stuff. He's not the guy that my hopefully new client wants to hire. He wants to hire a guy like me who knows where to sell that stuff, because I don't sell trucks and trailers and all that kind of stuff. I sell real estate and other collectible items.
Well, I know the boss is pulling at you. I want to
Oh,
ask
don't
about,
worry about that. Don't worry about that at all. I'm here as long as anybody wants me to be here.
Can I ask one more question?
yeah, go
If
ahead.
no one else has one before you go?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask one more question real quick?
You can
Okay,
ask
so
as many as you want.
back to really quick about the certified auctioneer. So the reason why I'm asking
Sure.
these questions is I'm on the entertainment committee that's helping the Shiro Foundation, which is a local nonprofit here in Las Vegas, that's doing their 8th annual gala on February 25th. And I know that they're having a silent auction and a live auction. I'm not sure who their auctioneer is, but now, of course, I'm very curious to find out. And I don't know, I mean, that's only a few weeks away. So if it's not a certified auctioneer, is it too late for me to suggest to them that they should pick somebody else?
No, not at all. Not at all, because a benefit auctioneer will be able to work quickly and get up to speed and understand how to help. I would sincerely urge you to recommend to the group that next year they try and find an auctioneer with about 6 months before the event, because a certified benefit auctioneer specialist will have dramatic ideas to make your fundraiser so much more profitable for the whole organization. It will make a huge difference. Who do they have as an auctioneer now? Do you know?
I don't know. I need to find out. That's what, and to be honest with you, the thought didn't even cross my mind until you spoke today, and it just, the light bulb went off. I mean, so maybe they are certified. I really don't know, but if not, this is definitely something I'm going to play in their ear for the future. Gala.
On the National Auctioneer Association website, they're in the upper right hand corner. It says find an auctioneer, and when you click on that, you can look for location, you can look for state, but you can also ask for certifications, and you want the BAS,
the
Benefit Auctioneer Specialist. So find a BAS certified auctioneer in your state or in your town, and if you don't have a benefit auctioneer specialist, at least talk to them and get them on the hook so that next year you can compare and contrast. And he can even, here's an idea. I would reach out to a benefit auctioneer specialist and say, look, we're willing to pay you $250 to sit down with us post event and evaluate what happened and how we could have made more money next year. Be the best $250 you ever spent.
Thank you. I'll make note of that.
Sure.
Can I piggyback off of that, off of Charlene's question? So when I reach out to a BAS and hire that person, that BAS will help with the marketing of the
Absolutely.
auction? Okay.
They're going to give you ideas on different things to do to raise money. They're going to have ideas on, here's a good example of what a benefit auctioneer specialist might recommend. Let me ask you, Coach, do you have a list of donors, a list of people who attended your last fundraiser?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And have you sorted them?
For my football team.
Have you sorted them from highest donor to lowest donor?
No, sir.
Step one. Sort your list of donors from highest donor to lowest donor. Take those top 10 donors and treat them like gold. Someone should be on the phone with them every other month. Hey, thanks so much. I truly appreciate the gift you gave us. Here's what we're going to do with the money. And your donation had a major impact, and we value you very, very much. Do you send Christmas cards to your top 10 donors? Do you send birthday cards to your top 10 donors? Do you have a conversation with your top 10 donors and say, who are your friends that you would like to bring? If we give you a free table, instead of charging $800 for a table, if we give you a free table, could you bring 3 other couples with you and fill the table? We only want to give it if you can fill the table with 3 more couples. Wow, now you've got 3 more couples that probably are on the same financial level as your top donor, and they're there and they're excited because he's excited. And who knows, there may be a few competitive juices running around the table at that level, and somebody's wife says, hey, don't let her husband make you look bad. You need to keep bidding on this thing. I want to go there. All these things are the tricks that a benefit auctioneer specialist can teach you 10 to 12 months before your next event. And if you have a mediocre fundraiser event and you hire a BAS 10 months before the next event, I'm willing to bet you could come close to doubling the money that you raise. Would not surprise me.
That's great tips,
Any other
John.
questions?
And we should let our nonprofits know, every nonprofit we know, your top 10 need to be asked if they've ever thought about donating real estate.
Right.
Go ahead,
Right.
Nikki.
Go
Hi
ahead,
there.
Nikki.
Yeah, I like that. Well, this is we should have talked 6 months ago because I just got put on another committee for our church, and that is the annual auction, which is happening April 1st. So it's goods and services, kind of a lower end. But anyway, my question to you was about what does an auctioneer charge, and how is that paid?
Wow, that varies from every auctioneer to every other auctioneer. It really does. I have a fundraiser that I do the auctioneering for, and it happens to be my high school football team alumni association. So I go meet all my old friends and we schmooze around a little bit, and it's a rubber chicken dinner, and I get up and sell 4 or 5 things. It's a lot of fun. I don't charge them. Typically, I know another guy in a company I used to work for. He did 35 fundraiser auctions a year, and he charged a flat $1,000. There are other, and again, he would just show up and call bids. But I'm familiar and good friends with an auctioneer in Lancaster, PA, who has a whole team. It's the auctioneer and 3 bid assistants. And those 3 guys are wearing a suit and tie, just like the auctioneer, and they're out in the audience and they're creating just a level of excitement in the audience because they're out there catching bids to make sure the auctioneer doesn't miss it. And their presence alone generates enthusiasm and excitement. And it may cost you an extra $300 per guy, but I guarantee they're going to generate thousands of dollars more because they're in the audience. So every auctioneer charges differently, has a different fee structure, has a different level of support, a different level of ideas. It depends on how long they've been in the business. If they've been in the business 25 years and everybody knows them and everybody uses them, you're going to pay top dollar. That's just the way it is. But if you get a young guy that's hungry, that has proven he can do it, and he's done a good job and he has good references, that may be a better opportunity financially for you to do that. And he charges either a flat fee or a 2 or 3% commission, who knows? Or you may say, look, our goal this year is $50,000. And he says, I'll charge $1,000 up to $50,000. And anything above $50,000, I get a 10% cut. That motivates him. That incentivizes him to do a better job, to make sure your marketing is spot on. So that's what I love about auctioneering. Everything in the contract is negotiable.
What about the 10%
I
buyer
don't
premium? Is
work for
that
cookies.
is the 10% buyer premium not what the auctioneer keeps?
Well, we were specifically referring to benefit auctions, but in a real estate auction here in Ohio, a 10% buyer's premium is fairly common. Around other parts of the country, especially in Iowa, where they sell farmland for almost $20,000 an acre at auction, they may work on a flat fee. They may work on a fee with a cap. They may say, we'll take 2% instead of 10%, and our cap is $10,000 because they're doing a $2 million farm. So they cap their auction fees at $10,000, whatever. Again, it's all negotiable. But in a benefit auction, there's typically not a buyer's premium. That's in personal property auctions and in real estate auctions, it's common to see a buyer's premium. And just real quickly, one of the premier real estate auction houses in the world charges a 12% buyer's premium on anything over $3 million. What's 12% on $5 million? I'm the high bidder. I'm at 4.5, 475. I got 500 here. John, I got 500,000 from John for 5 million from John Froelich. Any other bidders? No other bidders? With a 12% buyer's premium, I declare the property sold for $5.6 million. Wow. So I'm the high bidder at 5 million, and it just cost me an extra $600,000. But guess what? If I can afford 5 million, I can afford 5.6. Just the way the world works.
Well, friends, it's wonderful to start our experts off with Auction John. I want to highly recommend that you get his cell phone number and email and go to his website, auctionjohn.com. I believe that's it, isn't it? Or do you have another one?
No, I use that for my email. My website is JF, like John Froelich, jfmarketing.us.
Yep. Thank you so much for your expertise. John is part of the program, and you will be seeing him with every week. So feel free to reach out to him and all the experts, keeping in mind that we have all of the LinkedIn profile links for all of our experts, and to reach out and introduce yourself before they even come speak is a pretty smart thing to do. Thank you all for being here, and we will see you again next Thursday at 5 p.m. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
Tammy.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.
See you Saturday.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Oh, yeah. Saturday this week is the purpose workshop. Extra special. If you want to come to that, that's great. The same Zoom. Bye.
Bye.